Welcome back to Christmas Eve, Neil Oliver Live. Now, there's always a debate about whether or not to have a real Christmas tree or an artificial Christmas tree, and it happens in households up and down the country, year in and year out. But one thing worth contemplating, worth looking at, is the history of the Christmas tree itself. So I'm delighted in that context to be joined by a familiar face, a friend of this show, Professor Ralph Schollhammer, to discuss the history of the Christmas tree, where we now put our gifts in the British tradition of it all. Ralph, good evening. Merry Christmas to you.
Neil, Merry Christmas to you. This is the highlight of my career, being with you on Christmas Eve and talking about the Christmas tree. I think I can put my commentary career to rest after this.
Oh, bless you, Ralph. Merry Christmas to you too. We've spoken several times over the years, always about serious issues, all manner of political stories, but never about Christmas. So we can put right that wrong now. And it was a delight for me to learn that you've given a lot of thought to Nordic Christmas traditions and the advent of the Christmas tree in particular. How come?
Well, I have no choice. As your viewers will be happy to find out, all the cool Christmas traditions come from people with German accents. So from the Krampus to the Christmas tree, right? It all started in Germany. And it's really actually a nice story. Supposedly, kind of the first Christmas trees came up in Germany, or what then later became Germany in the 15th, 16th century. And one story I really like is that Martin Luther, apparently he once saw the stars above, and he was so moved by it that he said, wouldn't it be nice kind of when we have these evergreens in our houses to put lights on it? And that supposedly was the beginning of the Christmas tree and putting candles on the tree. Now, I don't know if Henry VIII and the beginning of the Anglican Church had a similar story about being moved by the skies, but I think it's given the Protestant Reformation, everything, I think it's a very, very nice story. And it's what I really like about it, it's the greatest story of cultural appropriation that ever happened, because the idea of the Christmas tree comes from the solstice, 22nd, 21st of December is the last really short day, and then finally days get longer, and you kind of have this very nice way how Christianity adopted it and turned it into something of its own in a way that ultimately worked for everybody. So I think the story of the Christmas tree is politically, if we want to go down this road, is probably more relevant than one would think.
Andrew Ebon, it is interesting, isn't it, how very pragmatic Christianity was in so many ways in its attempts to bring and to map onto older and established traditions.
Absolutely, and you look back at the pagan traditions and so on and so forth, and I think some of the very first Christmas tree, which was artificial, actually used to have geese feathers dyed green, I think, on that sort of basis. And I've heard different people have been attributed with the story about seeing the stars through the trees and deciding about lights and everything, everybody from Charles Darwin to the various people that Ralph mentioned as well. It is fascinating how he's sort of done that. It's the same with mistletoe, which was all about fertility and how that sort of worked on that sort of basis. But a lot of it goes back to pagan times and celebrating that sort of era.
Ralph, there's something very primal and fundamental, though, isn't there, about focusing on something that's evergreen. You can sense, going back through the millennia, the efforts that people made in the darkest of days and the coldest of nights to look for signs that life would return. And so to focus on the tree that remains alive when everything else has died, you can see why people would fix on the conifer, the fir tree.
Oh God, absolutely. I mean, and you see something else. You see how much human life depended on the seasons. So if we really want this Christmas kind of reflect a little bit on our age and on our current condition, I think one of the things, when we discussed over the year on your show these issues so often, is we live in this great position. We're in this great position that we are no longer depending on the seasons, right? You can go to the supermarket and you can have, a pineapple for Christmas. And it's no longer the case that we are completely, quote unquote, subservient to the whims of nature. And, many reasons for this is technological process, is the use of energy, all the things that have been on people's minds over the last 24 months. So there is a connection there. And I wish all your viewers a Merry, Merry Christmas, right? And I hope that many of them will have a happy Christmas and will go with, their spirits lifted and with new energy into the new year. But I think you're absolutely right. If we look at the Christmas tree, as you just mentioned, this idea that finally, right, kind of the days will get longer, that finally spring is on the horizon kind of as a positive message, and that we nowadays, in this day and age, no longer depend so much on the whims of nature and the seasons, is really something to ponder upon and to be grateful. I mean, there's a lot wrong with modernity. There's a lot that could be different. There's a lot that could be better. But some things actually have gotten better over the last decades or the last centuries, if you want. And I think it's worthwhile to, in a positive way, ponder about this as well.
Mm. Do you get a sense, Ralph, that people are more determined than ever to celebrate this year? I mean, obviously, there are people struggling in unfamiliar ways. Germany, is struggling for energy. People have been cutting down old-growth forests just for firewood, for warmth, and all of the rest of it. Do you think that the hardship, ironically, inspires in people the determination to look back at the old traditions about lights and fires and evergreen trees to get them through the darkness?
I hope so. I think a revival of those traditions and the way we look at life that's connected to it would be a good thing, even if it's only once or twice a year, right? I understand if this is not something that happens every day, but I think that would be a good thing. I think you see a little bit of revival of this, particularly in the German-speaking world. The forest and the trees always had a very specific significance that goes back to the idea that our history began with defeating the Romans in the Teutoburger forest. So basically, among the trees, our nation was born. If you want, at least that's one of the myths that's also surrounding a German mythology. But yes, I think we all sense that the last 2 years, or the last year in particular, was different. There is something happening on the horizon. So I think there is a sense among people that the next year or the coming years will be very different from the preceding ones. And I hope that kind of one message also to your viewers, let's get into this new as happy warriors. The challenges are great. The things that we have to overcome are significant. The changes that we want to see are substantial. But I think we should not lose hope. We should not lose faith. And we should not lose, particularly as the British, a certain sense of humor, right? Let's be serious about these issues, but be happy warriors about it. I think this is probably, that would be my New Year's message to myself and also to your viewers and to your listeners.
Fantastic, Ralph. Happy warriors. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Thanks so much for everything that you've done for Neil Oliver Live in the year past, and I'll look forward to conversing with you again in the new year. But thank you so much for now, Ralph Schollhammer.
Merry Christmas, Neil. See you soon.
See you soon. Lovely message there. Happy warriors.
Happy warriors. We could do that together. We feel good, don't we? I mean, we talk about having a peaceful New Year. Boy, do we need a peaceful New Year.
We do, but that idea of focusing on light, focusing on warmth, focusing on the evergreen and the knowledge that, after the shortest day,
right,
the days get longer and the sun and the spring and all signs of life will come back to us, and we should embrace.
Oh, without it. And as you say, the key to it is about hope. Let's all have hope.
Absolutely. Let's always all have hope. Thank you so much to my brilliant panellist, Andrew Eborn, to all of my guests this evening. All that remains for me is to wish every single one of you the happiest, the merriest of Christmases and the most optimistic and hopeful of Happy New Years. See you soon.